Colorado to Taos, New Mexico, 98.7 FM in Saguache, Colorado, and also streaming online at KRZA.org, connecting cultures along the Upper Rio Grande.
Thank you for listening to KRZA. This is your weather forecast for Thursday. In the San Luis Valley today, it should be mostly sunny. The high in Alamosa at 48 degrees, 46 in Antonito, 43 in Saguache, and 42 in Crestone. Tonight, there's a 10% chance of snow. In north-central New Mexico today, there's a 10% chance of rain and snow. The high in Taos at 49 degrees, 41 in Red River, 50 in Los Alamos, and 51 in Santa Fe. Tonight, there's a 30% chance of rain and snow. The low in Taos at 20 degrees, 17 in Red River, 25 in Los Alamos, and 28 degrees in Santa Fe.
You've been listening right there to Plaid Retina. It's a skate punk hardcore band. Okay, and Danette, you're going to be learning a lot of stuff today. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be happening with you today. I've been promoting this for at least over a month. And on the air this afternoon, legendary drummer of one of the most influential power trio skate punk bands of the late 80s up into the mid-late 90s. Okay, Don Hudgin. Are you there, Don?
Yeah, hello.
Hey, Donnie, my brother. The last time I spoke to you, bro, you were about ready to go on tour on the Pink Eye album tour, and dude, you sold me that snare that you got. Remember the Baby Blue?
Oh yeah.
Boy, brother, you don't understand how excited I am and how nervous I am to be having you on the air with me, man. It is really super cool. Thank you for this. Thank you so much for coming on the air and spending your this time with me.
Oh, you're welcome, Chris. I tried to do some prep. I hope I can provide some decent answers.
Okay.
So let's see how it goes.
Okay, cool beans, man. Under the famous Lookout Records label with such artists as Green Day on the same label, whom opened for Plaid Retina on a Kingsburg, California gig, man. And what is that all about? You know what I mean? And Don Hudgins and co-founder Matt Morris split ties with a metal band called Oblivion and decided to form a really kick-butt power trio punk band that would last 10 years of 7 records and years of touring, which is really cool. Is what I like to tell a lot of people is you literally grew up on the road, right?
Not me. The other guys more than me. I was already in like 1920 when we started touring, but those guys, Rob, our first bass player, was 15 years old, and I think Matt was 16 or 17. So those guys did. Those guys grew up on the road, but I was already kind of an adult. I wasn't legal enough to drink yet, but I was a little bit older.
All right, brother. Tell me, man, Oblivion. It was, and I remember because back in the day, it was back in Visalia. That was my hometown, which it wasn't your hometown because you're from Redondo Beach. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and back then, when I was in school and stuff, we heard, Matt and Travis wasn't available at the time, but he had graduated far beyond us too as well, and and with Rob Anderson had come in, and we always heard of Oblivion and stuff, and it was always the metal bands that were going around town. Now, prior to that, before you even got into that, how was that? Were you jamming around? I mean, what had happened? What was your deal right there?
I was like everybody else. I was a guitar player, and I really wanted to be in the metal scene. And Alaric Garcia, Jeff Gilley, all those guys had Oblivion, which was an already established band. I think they had a song called Living Hell was the name of it. Travis was in that band as well. And they didn't have a drummer, or they did have a drummer, and he quit, or somehow there was a vacancy there. And I had a chance to get a used drum set, so I sold all my guitar equipment and bought this used drum set from a friend. And that's kind of how I got started. I immediately got in the band because I needed a drummer so bad.
Now, I remember that kit. It was a baby blue, and it was like spray painted, like baby blue. Is that correct? With sharks on it. Is that correct?
Yeah, in Oblivion, it was spray painted red with black spray painted skulls on it. It was pretty funny. But yeah, I kept spray painting it over and over and over. It had all these went through all these different colors.
What kind of drum kit was it, Don?
I think it was called a Crest. I don't really remember it too well.
Oh, it was one of those Japanese type, low budget type kits, right?
Yeah, and I was inspired by that drummer from Venom. He had all those drums.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to all the garage sales I could to get more parts for this thing. So it started expanding, but none of the parts would fit. I'd be getting these drums for like $5, and I wouldn't have mounts for them. So they would be like, I would drill holes through them and put bolts from skateboards to.
Right on, man. Now, what gets me is I didn't even know you were. I know you're a guitar player, but I didn't know you were a guitar player that switched over to drums. So when you became a drummer, did you have the chops? I mean, how did that work out?
I remember when I got the kit from my friend, the core kit. He also had a how to play drums book, and he gave that to me. And so it was half that book and half actually watching MTV and seeing how the drummers on MTV were setting their drums up, like the hi-hat went on the left and the floor toms on the right, that kind of thing. Wow,
man. I am so impressed because I'm going to tell you right now, brother, you are one of my favorite drummers, man. And
hey, thanks, my man.
I joke you not. I'm not just saying this because that I got you on the air with me, but I'm just saying this because, brother, you are so odd. You are an odd cat. I mean, when you kind of go against the grain when you're playing, and innovative. Very innovative. And everybody that I've talked to about you as a drummer, they're like, oh my gosh, Don Hudgins, man. Don Hudgins. Really funky, reggae-ish. I mean, just no holds barred, no mercy on the drums, and grooving, man. I mean, you have a groove that is so tight. And I've seen it on some YouTube stuff that you got on YouTube and stuff like that. And, of course, on all the Plaid Retina albums, I'm just like, I'm totally just blown away when I hear you play, man.
Well, thanks, Chris. There's a couple things about that. First of all, I didn't really have much groove when I was in Plaid Retina. It sounds like I did, but it was more of a jittery tension, and I was rushing all the time. And Travis never complained, but it got on Matt's nerves a lot. And I
really?
I didn't really get control of that until after we broke up, and I was in this other band called Crabnog, and I really dedicated a lot of time at home on practice pads and stuff with metronomes and getting that reined in. So it was about 2 or 3 years after Plaid Retina when I finally started to cure that problem.
Okay.
As far as the sound, all those different influences and stuff goes, something happened to music around the time when I got into the Bad Brains Eye Against Eye album. At Redwood High School in Visalia, there was a new wave scene, as well as a metal scene. And I hung out with that new wave scene a lot. And when that kind of progressed into alternative college radio, like REM and stuff like that, since I was into aggressive music, I always kind of gravitated towards the aggressive sounds of these new wave and post-punk acts. And so I was trying to bring it kind of seemed like the aggressive scene in Visalia was a little bit kind of, beer drinking punk rock aggressive.
Yeah.
And I was trying to bring in more color into that, like trying to just introduce different styles and stuff.
Now, who was your influence? I mean, you came from a guitar player into drums. I know you mentioned Venom and stuff, but who is the guy that you said, man, that's the one I stole the licks from right there?
Oh, probably there's two of them. One of them definitely Dave Lombardo from Slayer.
Nice.
There was a song that Slayer had called Necrophiliac. I think I talked about this with Alaric Garcia kind of recently about how almost everything that you hear in Plaid Retina, especially on that first album, is necrophiliac from Slayer in some kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other influence that was always there was this guy from Corrosion of Conformity,
Mm-hmm.
and his name was Reed Mullen, and they had this album called Animosity.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I was a big Corrosion of Conformity fan, it was just that I had this tape and I was listening to it constantly, and he kind of like got into my DNA without me really, being in charge of that. Like I didn't have management over that. He just kind of seeped into it,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, Oblivion, when you were with Matt, of course, was in the band Oblivion along with you, and you guys decided to split this group up, or however, just like every band does, they always have their differents, or however that works out.
It was kind of what kind of happened was Oblivion didn't really split up. It just kind of fell apart, and it didn't really have anything to do with the band. It had more to do with heavy metal itself. Heavy metal itself was changing.
Mm-hmm.
It all kind of started when James Hetfield started wearing GBH shirts, and everybody kind of started to look at the underground hardcore scene. I think Kirk Hammett's wearing a Discharge shirt back of Ride the Lightning too.
Yeah.
And so everybody started checking out the Exploited and Black Flag and all these punk bands, and some of us went straight punk after that. It just kind of, I think the last hurrah for Oblivion is we all went to go see Metallica together on that Ride the Lightning tour. We all saw Cliff Burton.
Nice. And, man, that is something.
And after that, it all went punk. Well, I wouldn't say it all went punk. It just all went, like crossover, I think they call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, when it fell apart, and then you and Matt were saying, this isn't over, man. We want to still jam together. We still want to do something. I don't know, because I don't know if you guys had it in your minds of what would become of what you guys were, because you guys used to play in a boxcar. It was a train boxcar behind Matt's house, man. This was literally.
Was
tell me about that, man. Danette's freaking out over here, man. I'm just telling you that right now, Don.
Yeah, that was really cool. That boxcar was really cool. What happened with me and Matt was we just kind of noticed that we had all these resources. I had a drum kit, he had a practice place, and we had ambition. Mm-hmm. We wanted to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of realized that we could get this thing going. We had a problem with me at first because I started to not show up to practice for a while, and Matt kind of sat me down and said, "Are you going to take this seriously or what?" And so that's when I decided I was going to be fully on board, and then I was there every day.
Don, you're about the most hardworking drummer that I know, man. I mean, I seen your practice schedule. Not only that, I've seen you guys' touring schedule, which is brutal, man. And that kind of amazes me, man. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you, man. You kind of flaked out a little bit there, didn't you, Don?
Yes, at the very beginning, yeah.
I'm sorry, brother. I mean that with all respect, man. Trust me, I love you, Don, and stuff. Okay. So anyway, we're going to go into commercial right now, and we're going to, if you can stand by, Don, you're going to hang out with us for a little bit longer. I hope so, because I got a gazillion more things I needed to ask you and stuff. So I'm going to move it over here to Danette, and we're going to get it all taken care of. Right on? Go ahead, Danette.
Okay. Gotcha.
So this afternoon, we've got a challenge match, and this is from Anonymous. Anonymous is calling us from Crestone, Colorado. So we want to hear, the challenge is for the first 4 calls we get. So call us 719-589-8844. This anonymous caller from Crestone wants to donate money to KRZA and is challenging other people to call. No, and the number in New Mexico to call is 575-758-1537. Come on, get that phone ringing.
You got to do it. This is our fun drive because you're listening to KRZA 88.7 Alamosa, Colorado, Taos, New Mexico, 98.7 in Saguache, Colorado, and streaming online at krza.org, connecting cultures along the Upper Rio Grande. here on KRZA. We're here with Plaid Retina's former drummer, Don Hudgins. He's with us this afternoon. I'm hoping I can get him for a good length of time today. And also my girl over here, Danette, in here sitting in with me. Really appreciate you for being here, Danette. It's awesome. What do you think of Don, my buddy Don here?
This is so interesting to be able to interview somebody that has been a musician for so many years, and for us to be able to interview him here in Alamosa.
Yes. So,
Don, where are you originally from?
I was born and raised in Redondo Beach, California, and I moved to that's in Los Angeles. It's kind of near Santa Monica, and then I moved to Visalia, California, where I met Chris. That's kind of like an agricultural farm town in the middle of Central California by Fresno. And today I live in Austin, Texas. I moved out here in '94 with the band. We actually got a record deal. It wasn't like a huge record deal. It was for a little 7-inch record, and the guy that ran the label and his friends kind of set us up with jobs and a place to live and stuff, and that's how we got here.
Wow. There you go, Danette.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
It really is. We thank you so much for taking time to call, letting us interview you, because this is how we are able to really let our listening audience know who you are. And, like Chris is a volunteer here at KRZA, and to be able to do this afternoon, it's just amazing. So we thank you.
Oh, I'd like to thank you guys. This is great.
Right on, Don. And now we're getting back into what Don does best, and that's drumming right there. And like I said, Danette, she's into the Tejano. I don't know if you understand. You toured all over the place, bro. You were in Texas, you were in New Mexico, so you can understand the Tejano sound,
actually, yeah. They're, I was telling you, Chris, about this band that I was in called Violent Contrast.
Yeah.
And some of the influences of that was actually this form of music that was going around here called Duranguense.
Duranguense? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It had a very polka-ish kind of almost punk rock hardcore beat to it. And I started getting into it by watching cable access shows around here. And
wow.
Actually had a direct influence on the Violent Contrast stuff that I played for you.
That is cool. That is really... See, Danette, there's a reason why you're here with us, But it's awesome. Hey, Don, so anyway, how are you liking retirement, man? Before I get into this whole thing, how are you digging your retirement as a drummer?
It was a relief immediately. I was having some problems with my hearing and with my wrists and my legs. And as soon as I stopped playing, I immediately started to heal that stuff. I still have some problems with my hearing. I have problems wearing headphones and stuff like that for too long.
Wow.
But it's been going better. I've been trying to take every day like I'm on vacation. So like when I take a shower, I pretend that I'm in a hotel room taking a shower, in Hawaii or something.
Yeah.
Because it's just been constant work the whole time. During Plaid Retina, after Plaid Retina, when I was playing drums, it was just so much work that I wasn't having any fun anymore. So that's all I'm concentrated on now is just, relaxing and taking it easy.
Nice. Very nice. Now, what are you doing now? I mean, now that you're in retirement and stuff like that, that you're, I know you're working and stuff. So, and I know you're a skater, bro. You've always been a skater.
Yeah. The thing about the skating is I'm not fronting. I'm not that great, and at my age, I'm going to be 50 next year, so I mostly just cruise around, but I try to cruise as aggressively as possible. So there's that.
You're going to be 50, Don? No way.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I can't believe you're going to be 50 years old, man.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. It's weird. And when I I don't really notice it in the mirror, but when I take pictures of myself and look at the pictures, I'm like, wow, I'm this old guy now. It's kind of strange because, I'm the exact same person on the inside. You guys are probably going through this. You're the exact same person on the inside, but your outside is changing, and you're like, wait, I didn't authorize this. Like, what's going on?
Now you're working now, right, Don? Are you still working? What's the deal, man? What are you doing now?
Yeah, I work at a credit union, Greater Texas Federal Credit Union. I'm a mailroom supervisor, and I started off just as a mailroom job, and I just stuck with it because they had a really good benefits and 401k, which I couldn't get as a musician. And so I really stuck with that job because I figured it was my only chance at retirement without going to college,
Yeah, I hear you, man. Okay, let's get back to the deal, man. So you guys had formed this group. You and Matt have said, this is what we're going to do. And Rob Anderson comes into play with this whole thing. Was he a friend of yours? You brought him in, and how did this work out?
Yeah, our first bassist was Kelly Casper.
That's right.
And we had a happy breakup with him because he had a child. So he had to go work full-time and wouldn't have enough time to practice and stuff like that. So we brought in Rob, who was one of my best friends from my neighborhood, rode BMX bikes and stuff. He used to have a PK Ripper, actually.
Wow.
And so we brought in Rob, and we were off at that point.
Wow. So
it was tough getting Rob a bass, I remember, because musical instruments weren't easy to get in those days.
Yeah.
And we found him a Fender Precision bass, I think it was, but it had a warped neck on it, and we couldn't make it work.
Now, was Rob a bass player? Was he a guitar player? What was he?
He was a guitar player, but it was very easy for him to make the transition to bass, and it also kind of seemed like it was real natural for him. I think he was really good for that kind of style,
Right on. So when he comes in, now you got your form of three now. Well, Kelly Casper was in. Kelly Casper's out. Rob's in now. And Rob sits in for a 7-inch record. Now, before we get into that, you guys were beginning a new sound, a new punk sound at the time. Didn't even realize what you guys were doing at the time, because when you guys would play at the school for any kind of special occasions that we would have there, assemblies or something like that, and I remember you guys playing at COS College and stuff like that, people were taken aback, like, what is this? What is this stuff? Did you get that? Did you get that from the folks that when you guys first started to get into the scene, or your ingredients of some sort of what became of Plaid Retina?
Oh yeah, definitely, Chris. We were just as blown away as everybody else was when we were writing that stuff. It was like stuff that we'd never heard before coming out of us, and we were kind of blown away by all that. And when we played at those COS lunches at that outside theater on the Pink Eye stuff, we would play songs like Figure It Out, and the music would bounce off the buildings and come back at us in these weird time signatures. And those COS shows were really cool in that way, because there were so many stops and starts that the echoing that was going on added to all that. And it was just this really weird, bizarre experience that was going on. Everybody was like, what is this? And we were like that too,
yeah, because
enough from practicing to not mess up while we were playing it, but it was blowing us away just as much as everybody else.
Yeah, because when you guys did that 44, the 7-inch record, and it was a self-titled Plaid Retina record with Rob Anderson on bass, Matt Morrison on vocals and guitar, and of course Don Hudgins on percussion. You were beginning to fall into your own at that time. You guys were all beginning to fall into your own. Were you helping on the co-writing on that? Did you come up with tunes? Did you and Matt come together? I want to know what your guys' writing sequence was.
Oh yeah, in those days it was really cool. There were just ideas flowing around our young heads all the time, and we were just catching them with little brain nets and just organizing them out. Sometimes we would have incomplete ideas, and Matt and I would help each other out. Like if we were writing lyrics and needed the ending of a sentence or something, the other one would help us. Like if I was writing lyrics and I needed the end of a sentence, Matt would come up with the other end of it. And the same thing happened musically. And actually, that influenced Violent Contrast later on too. That's how Violent Contrast was done. I was just taking every idea that was coming into my head and running it through this kind of DRI, minor threat kind of filter. And so I was, turning all kinds of weird stuff and stuff that wasn't so weird, but is unusual, like the Smiths and the Cure and all that. And I would run it through this minor threat filter and turn it into like a hardcore song. And that's kind of how a lot of that first 7-inch Plaid Retina stuff came out. And I also have to say that the studio that we recorded in Fresno, it was called Audio Image Recording. Matt and I kind of noticed that after we went in for the first session. There were 2 sessions for that record, and we went in for the first session and came out of it listening to the cassette tape, and we kind of realized that this studio was giving us a particular sound, and maybe we always had it, and the studio was just making us realize it. But it was the sessions from that record that kind of gelled it in our heads that we have a signature sound going on here that we can exploit and change and make better and stuff, So it was kind of, all around the atmosphere. All around the atmosphere until we had that session, and then it all kind of got pointed.
Now, when you guys went into the studio, you guys weren't signed yet. You guys just decided we were going to record something. I mean, because I know you guys recorded off of a radio. How we used to call the ghetto blasters back in the 80s. You guys would set this thing up in a boxcar. And you know what? To be honest with you, I never had the opportunity to check you guys out in the boxcar. That's what I regret most, that I wasn't able to be in there at the beginning stages of Plaid Retina, of who they were and who you guys became. And I know that there was a cassette, that demo cassette that was made. Is that still around?
There were lots of cassettes. There's lots of Plaid Retina cassettes that exist out there, like sound tapes from the board at the Gilman Street, and so there's a huge amount of those that are out there. Cool.
Now, when you guys did the recording at the studio and stuff, now did Lookout come in and say, "Hey"?
The labels.
Yeah.
Okay, so how it started was. We started to go to Fresno. We met Dale Stewart from Capital Punishment. He had his own little record store called Stage Dive Records.
Yeah.
And I think their album was called Push Comes to Shove. And we were blown away, first, that they made a record, and second, that it was so good.
Wow.
But all we could really focus on was how they made the record. So we just were grilling Dale's head, and we got to know him really well. And he came down and saw us play, and we were going to put... he encouraged us to go into the studio, and he's the one that brought up Audio Image Recording, the studio in Fresno. And so we were going to put out a 7-inch on his own label called Stage Dive Records. But I don't really know how we got hooked up with Lookout per se, because that was kind of, I think Matt did that. So that's more of a Matt question. But,
okay.
I do know that what was very important was that we went into the studio and recorded it. Because if you had an album recorded, then the labels wouldn't have to spend the money recording the record, and you had a lot better of a chance getting your record put out, because they wouldn't have to spend the money recording it for you,
Yeah, I hear you, man. And we're going to get back to you here, Don. This is Don Hudgins. He's live on the air with us on KRZA, because you're listening to KRZA at 88.7 from Alamosa, Colorado, to Taos, New Mexico, 98.7 to Saguache, Colorado, streaming online at krza.org. And that's all my peeps that are back in the West Coast who are listening to us online, and some people that are on the East Coast as well. Since you've been on the air, since the rumor has been that you're going to go on the air with me, my phone has been blowing up. And it's like everybody is like, "Oh, we're hoping that there's a Plaid Retina reunion and all this kind of stuff." But you don't have to say anything. Don, don't say anything. So just hang tight. And Danette, she's going to read us a little commercial here for us. And here you go.
Support for KRZA is provided in part by the John Dunn Shops, located on Ben Street in the heart of Taos Historic District. 20 independent shops offer shoes and clothing, books, cookware, fabric, leather, Taos-made arts and crafts, and much more. The John Dunn Shops and Gardens, an outdoor space connecting Ben Street to the plaza. The website is johndunsshop.com. And we'd like to also thank the bistro from Alamosa, downtown Alamosa, for the pizza and salads that were brought to KRZA for the volunteers. Thank you so much. And also, just to say this once again, there's a challenge match out for, this is from Anonymous, and Anonymous is calling from Crestone and is challenging people to call in during this fund drive. So the numbers to call, and it's during this show. So numbers to call, 719-589-8844, or the New Mexico number is 575-758-1537. You can also pledge online at www.krza.org. KRZA.org, and you click on the PayPal button. You can also send your pledge to KRZA, 528 9th Street, Alamosa, Colorado, 81101.
You're listening to KRZA, and we got on the air the former drummer of Plaid Retina, Don Hudgin's on the air with us. He's been hanging with us for the last half hour, and I'm hoping, man, I got so many questions, Danette, that I can't even figure this out. I'm like, I keep getting sidetracked, and because I've been excited, and I kind of calm my nerves too since we've been on the air, because it is a big deal for me, Don, for you to be here with me and let me dig into your life.
Cool. Yeah, I've been playing for 28 years, and I think I've been in 9 bands.
Wow.
So it's quite a lot to plow through without getting confused.
But you know what, bro? You've done more. I don't think you understand the level, and I don't know if it's because I don't even want to say underrated. The group itself, because originally my plan was the rise and fall of Plaid Retina, because you guys were a major influence on a lot of punk bands, man. And when I say this, a lot of messages have been coming. Oh yeah, they were a big influence on me. I've seen them in North Carolina, or I've seen them in Texas, and I've seen them, in San Diego. I mean, you guys were. I mean, do you really realize what you've put onto the community? I mean, of musicians.
One of the things that I'm kind of aware of is that people were stoked on seeing that we were doing it ourselves, and we were just like them. Like, we weren't big rock stars, like, some untouchable rock stars on MTV or something. Mm-hmm. We had a van, and we were playing shows, and we were putting out records, and they were buying them, and then suddenly here we are, the guys that were on their record that they bought, playing in front of them. Yeah, sometimes in their garage, and they were getting really stoked on that, and we were always glad to play because we were addicted to the energy of the shows and everything. So,
Sure.
So I'm kind of aware of it. I do know that a lot of it had to do with that do-it-yourself thing. Making your own album covers on a Xerox copier and stuff like that.
Wow, isn't that something? They did it all, and you did the artwork. Am I correct on that, Don, or am I just not remembering that?
Yeah, most of it. I kind of stopped later on. In the beginning, I remember Matt and I kind of had this really collaborative vision about the whole thing. Like we were encouraging people to get involved. So that first 7-inch, I think the Todd Keller, drew that, and we were trying to get other people to get involved. Like we wanted to feature other people's work too, because the punk scene back then in those days was kind of like a bicycle wheel with all these spokes on it, and all these spokes were like people doing different things. These days, everybody just wants to be a rock star.
Yeah.
Back then, people wanted to, people were artists, and people had cable access shows, and people had fanzines, and people did different things, and we wanted to be a part of this wheel. As time progressed, I kind of took charge of the art. David Hayes from Very Small Records helped a lot with the art as well. But I got a job at a print shop, and that's when I was really able to have the tools like a light table and stuff to do better art and come out with stuff like that.
Cool. Now, getting back into the self-debut album, the Plaid Retina album, now you guys go in the studio, drum kit. I know you borrowed it from Alaric. Is that the one that you borrowed to do the first record?
Oh, no. Actually, the first record was done with two different drum sets. One of them was that crust one with the spray paint.
Wow, you used that in the studio?
Yeah, that's it.
Wow,
and that snare that I sold you, that big deep snare, that's on most of that record.
Yeah, that snare is awesome, man. And I'm sending that to you, whether you like it or not, Don. You're taking it back. But oh my God, are you kidding me with this? Because that was the concert toms, and really,
yeah, homemade concert toms because I couldn't afford heads for the bottom. But the studio engineer, Gray, he was so good that he was able to make it sound like, John Bonham in there. And so I was really stoked on that. The other half of the record was recorded with a kit that I borrowed from Tom Hester, and it was a Rogers kit that kind of looked like Ringo Starr's, it had that,
cool.
I don't know what you call that, finished marble or something.
Yeah. Wow, that is cool. And so now we move on. Now that the record has been made, were you guys planning on? Because now, was the album signed? Were you guys signed at the time of with Lookout Records? How did you get? Now, was that because I remember the Lookout Records label was on that? Am I correct on that?
Oh yeah. This is where I think Matt would probably need to come in because he would know more about how this went down. But we originally recorded it to be released on Stage Dive Records. And that was kind of like humping along. And then somehow Lookout showed interest in it. And I think what attracted them to us is that we were stuck out in the middle of a cotton field in an agricultural community in rural California that nobody would ever have a chance of discovering us.
Yeah.
And I think that's what attracted us to them. They were trying to do, I remember Dave and Lawrence, I think, were trying to do different unusual things with their label, try to find bands that would never have a chance,
Wow. Talking about being in the right place at the right time,
Yes.
So did you guys tour with the record?
What's that?
Did you guys tour that record?
Yeah, we didn't tour outside California, but we went all over the place. I had a Ford Ranchero, and Matt had a Camaro, and we split the equipment up between both of these vehicles, and we started going up to the Bay Area a lot, Berkeley and Davis and Bakersfield, and all those, all around the different places that we could get to.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is very cool. And then later became the Boxcar Sessions. This is when Travis rolls in. Travis is now, Rob is leaving. Rob is leaving the band because Rob is going to be a Marine. And I remember this. And then, was there any talk of, oh, are we going to disband about this? Or are we just going to continue moving forward? We got to get ourselves a bass player.
Yeah, we had no intention of disbanding. I remember one of the things that I did other than art was I did mail, and there was this magazine called Maximum Rock and Roll out at the time. I think they're still doing it, but it was this huge Bible of punk rock that would come out every month, and it was this big, thick telephone book of articles and scene reports and record reviews and everything, and I would go through that thing every night after practice, and I had a typewriter, and I would send Plaid Retina stuff to almost every address that I could find in this magazine. And that's how I stumbled across this label from Germany. It was originally called Empty Records, and I think it was ran by an American military guy who then transferred the assets of it to a German guy. And so it went from Empty Records to Musical Tragedies. And we thought that it would fall through when Empty Records fell through, but Musical Tragedies wound up really being enthusiastic about it. So it was still a go. And so we went back to the AIR studio and we recorded, I'm just going to go ahead and tell the big secret here. It was kind of inspired by that Metallica 998 EP that was out at the time.
Yes.
Those cover songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, Last Caress and all that.
Yeah.
That was a great record. So we got the idea to do a deal where side A was going to be covers of what we liked individually, and then side B was going to be the originals. The originals were mostly, the bass lines were mostly written by Rob still, because Travis didn't really have enough time in the band yet to do any songwriting.
Wow,
so
really?
It was kind of Rob songs with Travis kind of filling in.
Wow, that is interesting. Because nothing against Rob, but Travis, when you guys played on the Pink Eye album and Dead End Mine, that was just a tight, you guys were tight, man. And
yeah, Travis's bass playing blows my mind because he had all these different kind of styles that he could change at will. Like he could slap and play with a pick, and he'd go back and forth like whenever he wanted. He was really fluent at what he did, and he had a really strong sound from. He had an Ampeg amp, the kind that had the upside down head that you'd unlatch and flip over.
Yeah.
And that really complemented his playing. And it was really he was a really interesting bass player.
And I bet it was good for you too as a drummer, to have a bass player like that, someone that you're not working so hard. And you can understand this, where you're working too hard when another player is below your level, and you're trying to move along. And it feels like you're carrying weight. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I didn't really notice any problems even with Rob. I just in the boxcar, it was kind of hard to hear everything because I was in line with all the amps that were pointing forward. So wow. A lot of like vocals and stuff I really couldn't hear unless we made those Ghetto Blaster tapes and listened back to them.
Yeah.
But with Travis, what I would hear in my head was really hard percussive sounds, and I would react on the drums playing hard and percussive to try to match that flavor that was coming out of him, at the time. Very
good ingredients. And no, nothing against Rob Anderson as a bass player. I was just saying, Travis coming in with his, just with his talent, man. He was a very good, solid bass player, and it seemed like the two of you just really grooved together. Now, when you're doing the Boxcar Sessions cassette tape, and that had come out, and then you guys did some originals on side B, and of course the cover songs on side A, was there any co-writing on that for you on that one, on the Boxcar Sessions?
Boxcar Sessions. I'm drawing a blank, Chris.
That's all right. That's all right, brother. Okay, so the gear that you used in the recording studio, was it the same gear that you were using off the first album that came into the Boxcar Sessions?
Oh, Okay, I tried to get a really nice Yamaha drum kit.
I remember that kit. I remember that kit.
The black one.
Yeah.
I took a loan out for that, and I was still washing dishes at Denny's, and I couldn't, with the car payment and everything, I just could not handle the payments on that. So that drum set got actually repossessed, and so I went back to, the Crest kit was gone, so I went back to basically piece together pieces of crap. I'm sorry if I could say that.
It's all right.
Little junk drums again. Like I went back to having a junk drum set, but I kind of got into that as well. Though I started like really getting this do-it-yourself vibe from that kit. I was sitting on a milk crate from the back of a grocery store.
Sure.
I remember because Matt plays drums too on the side, and Matt was using a milk crate to sit on, and he got me turned on to that because you can also haul parts in it.
Oh yeah.
So so I was sitting on a milk crate and playing crappy drums, and then around, I believe it was Mind Tracing Going Down, I took my I went to the human resources person at work and had them take more money out of my check for my income taxes to get a bigger income tax refund. And then we went to Hollywood to buy a drum set, and that's when I found that Tama kit that I used on Dead in Mind.
Yes, and stop right there, Don. That drum sound that you got on there is amazing, man. What kind of Tama was that? Was that just a Rockstar? What was that?
It was a Rockstar Pro.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was it 10, 12, 14? What were you using there? What were your sizes?
Oh, my God. It was 12, 13 on the rack toms, but they were super deep. I'm sure you saw pictures of it. It was like a midnight blue color.
Yeah.
That was kind of inspired by that guy from Faith No More.
Yeah.
I got really into him at the time that I bought that kit, so I wanted these really deep toms, and I kind of regret getting rid of that Tama kit. I had to sell it in order to raise money for the Gretsch, and that Tama kit, the problem with the Gretsch was that it was really old, and it had poor technology, like as far as the bass drum legs went and stuff. It was always coming loose, and I had to reach down and tighten stuff up after every song. The Tama was brand new and didn't have those problems. So I always kind of missed the Tama. Plus the Tama sounded really good.
Oh yeah, man, the tones. Now now that we're on Dead in Mind, I hate to jump to this one, but speaking of the Dead in Mind album, did tuning, now that you're a drummer, you got some experience under your belt, and you're moving forward, you're getting some experience in the studio and stuff like this, and you're sampling and you're thinking this stuff of different sounds that you're trying to use in the studio. Did you tune that kit like that?
That tuning came from a couple of different things. It came from the drums themselves. I was using a Pearl free-floating snare where the shell is not bolted to anything.
Yeah.
And that was a really nice snare. And then I have to give credit to the engineer. I can't remember his name. I think it was Bart, but he was really good. House of Faith had a kind of a signature sound, and that was really nice as well. And then there's the Drum Doctor. We got to get into the Drum Doctor.
Okay, we're going to get that. But Danette, before you say, because you turned me on to this, bro, and I was like fascinated by it. And we're going to get into the Drum Doctor, and we're also going to get into, I need to know about the cover that you put over the bass drum, but we're going to get to that here in a minute. Danette, go ahead and help us out here.
KRZA is supported by Mattress Mary's Taos Lifestyle, featuring Sleep Sanctuary, a complete home furnishing center located in the Albertsons Shopping Center, open 7 days a week. Taos Lifestyle offers mattresses, unholstered furniture, home accents, lighting, rugs, and more. An online store. Design, style, recommendations, and delivery service in the Upper Rio Grande region are available. Information at 575-758-5885 and at lifestyle.com. And it's day 6 of the Spring Fun Drive here at KRZA. And today we've got a challenge match out during this show. So we are asking to get calls during this show so that Anonymous from Crestone can help us meet that challenge. So the numbers to call us are 719-589-8844. Or our New Mexico number is area code 575-758-1537. Call us. We want to hear from you during this show. Wow, what a great interview. So interesting.
Listening to Don Hudgin's, the infamous, the most deadly drummer, man. And this guy's blowing me away right now with what this interview, man. There's some stuff I'm learning that I haven't learned or I didn't know. And also you're listening to KRZA 80.7 from Alamosa, Colorado, to Taos, New Mexico, 98.7 in Saguache, Colorado, and streaming online at KRZA.org, connecting cultures along the Upper Rio Grande. We're here with my girl here, Danette. She's here as co-hosting with me on this show right here. She's the one that's reading all my reads and stuff like that. So I really appreciate you hanging out with me, Danette, where we're hearing this wonderful interview with my buddy Don here.
It is so nice to be here with you, Hollywood. And wow, this is really interesting. I did not realize that Don was your friend.
Yeah, well, I like to say that. I like to, me and Don, we've never really had any really history together. The only thing history I got with this guy is I bought a snare off of him.
Isn't that so interesting?
Mm-hmm. It is. And Don, I hope you can stick around a little bit longer. Are you okay with that? Or
oh yeah.
Okay, cool beans. Okay, we had a lot of things. I mean, I had things that were coming up that was like, okay, we had to put you on hold on certain things that I wanted to ask you on that. You mentioned a drum doctor. Now I need you to put a hold on that because I gotta put the back pedal on now because you got to go to the Pink Eye album, and that's what we were just listening to right now. And I was going. That's my favorite record, bro. I got to tell you this, Dead End Mine second, and and of course, I want to say that Mind Tracing the next. I mean, I can go all the way down on what I think, but my favorite album, Pink Eye album, and I don't know if it's because one, you sold me the snare, two, you guys gave me the album before you went on tour, and I remember you guys were getting in a Econoline van. You were about ready to go out the next day. It was during summer, and you guys toured the United States in a Econoline van. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I think it was a GMC.
Okay.
Or a Chevy, but it's the same thing. Yeah.
Now you had 3 musicians and 1 roadie. and plus all your gear. How in the heck did you guys fit everything in that van?
Dale, once again, from Capital Punishment in Fresno, he has this skill. He knows how to build platforms inside band vans, and he built this platform, or we all worked on it together, but it was under his direction. And so it was made out of plywood and 2x4s and lots of padding and carpeting on top so you can sleep and be comfortable. And it looked like when you open the doors on the side, it looked like a giant lazy boy. And underneath, all the equipment got stashed. And then on top, you could hang out. And there was plenty of room. We could bring, like after the shows, we could bring people inside the van and have beers. And it was great.
Wow, man, that is so cool that you guys, that you guys could have built like tree houses, man, and you know what I mean? I don't know what it is, man. I don't even know why I even said that. Sorry, Don. But just the limit of time that you guys had, or space that you guys put in to make things work like that is amazing, man. Because I remember you showing me the inside of that van. And was it on the tour of Pink Eye that you said, okay, guys, I lost my set of drums. I need a tour now. Can anybody help me? Was this the one?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember I made flyers and sent them out all over the place.
How do you do that, bro? I mean, how much time did you have from the time that, okay, the gear's gone, I know I got a tour that's going to be happening, I need a drum kit, Yeah, the kit got minimalist. So I went, I lost a rack tom. I went down to just one rack tom, which I've never been comfortable with. Mm-hmm. I can't stretch out as an artist on a simple punk rock 4-piece kit. Mm-hmm. I have to have at least 2 toms over the bass drum. Wow.
At least.
Okay.
And so it was a difficult time. Same thing with crash cymbals. I had to just have 1 crash cymbal instead of 2. I came from the Capital Punishment Mike Branham school of 2 crash cymbals. So it was very difficult. I had to compromise a lot of my creativity in order to play on this little thing. But the flyers worked. People hooked me up with some stuff. I was able to get some decent hi-hats and a ride, and I, used the ride as a crash, too.
Wow.
And, so I was able to get through it.
Yeah, because your guys' touring schedule was, sometimes you guys would do 2 shows in one day and then go to the next town the next day. I mean, that I seen your guys' tour itinerary. And can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, Dave Hayes, he was the guy that ran Very Small Records. He went with us on tour, and he used to say, when things got really tough, he would say that it was like a low number on the funometer. We're still having fun. It's just we're not having as much. Like one time, I think in Flagstaff, Arizona, we got stuck in the snow, and Dave rated it a 2 on the funometer because we're still having fun because we're not at home working jobs. But we're stuck in the snow and we can't get to the next show. So,
oh my gosh, how did that work? How did that work when you guys would have to? Did you guys have to cancel shows because of it?
No, I don't think we canceled. I think it was very rare that we would cancel a show. I don't think it happened more than 3 times. And I think that one thing that was really gnarly was I got chicken pox on the East Coast, and some friends that we were really good friends with this band called Buzz Oven, and they were kind enough to set us up, and I had a place where I could rest, and I couldn't see a doctor or anything.
Oh my gosh!
We couldn't afford it.
How dangerous is that?
I just had to ride. Yeah, it was. From what I understand, it was pretty dangerous because I was at an older age. You're supposed to get chicken pox when you're a kid. Wow. So I got it when I was in my mid-20s, and so that was pretty horrible. But we got through that too. And I remember I was only incapacitated for about 1 day.
Wow. Now, your guys' brutal touring schedule. You guys toured all the way to New York City. There's a story that goes around, and Matt had told me, and it was one that you guys were gonna. I was in New York City at the time, and you guys had parked your van behind some club that you guys were going to play that night. And you guys walk into the club, right? You guys walk into the club, and you take it now, Don. Tell me what happens.
They warned us. Is this about the getting our stuff stolen?
Yes.
Yeah. They warned us to keep someone in the van at all times. So Travis we were rotating that, and it was Travis's turn to be in the van. And so Travis is in the van, and a guy, I guess, smashes his way into the van and holds Travis at gunpoint and grabs all our stuff, we had that platform in the van, so all our equipment was secure. But he grabbed all our stuff, like our backpacks and stuff, and left. And it was really scary. And according to Travis, believe it or not, the cops showed up within like 30 seconds. Like they were like right there.
Oh, wow.
The guy had, the criminals in New York, I guess, are just as good as the cops are. So he actually got out of there and got away with our stuff.
Wow,
the cops weren't able to get him.
That is amazing.
But that was really intense. From what I understand, New York City has cleaned up a lot since those days.
Yes. Yeah. And so anyway, you're listening to KRZA 88.7, Alamosa, Colorado, Taos, New Mexico, 98.7 in Saguache, Colorado, and streaming online at KRZA.org, connecting cultures along the Upper Rio Grande. We are on the air with my buddy Don Hudgin right now from Plaid Retina. And he's going to, it's one of those things where, I have a million questions to ask this guy, man. It's just amazing, especially with the stuff. Now, with the thing with the recording of the record, when you put that sheet over the kick drum as you did, and then ended up into, the, can you tell me how that went?
Yeah, it was a trick that the engineer had at the time, where he taped a blanket to the kick drum, and then unrolled the blanket and then spread it out at the ends. And it was he had one mic up against the front head of the kick, and then he had like one or two mics on each of the corners of the spread out part. So it got the percussion, and then also I believe there's another mic on the backside, like the batter head. So you had attack from the batter head, and then you also had somewhat of attack from this mic that was near the front head, and then you also got the echo coming through this blanket tunnel on the other end of it. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty cool. It used a lot of tracks for all those mics,
nice.
With all the drums too.
Nice, very cool.
It worked out really well.
Right on, man. One more thing, Don, because I'm getting pressed for time right here. My manager's pressing me for time to move on. Is there any way that later on I would be able to get in touch with you again so we can go finish this interview up if we can later on, if it's okay?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, because I love it, man. It was great. And, like I said, I really appreciate you, Don, for hanging out on the phone with me and relaxing and telling us all the stories, man. They're really cool and stuff. And I really do appreciate you being on the air with me and with Danette also here hanging out with me with the show. And so... Don, if I can, like I said, I want to apologize to you. I thought I had more time, but I'm getting a lot more press for to cut it a little short here. So we're gonna put a part 2 on this, brother. And I just want to let you know, Don, I love you, man. You're a good guy, and there's a lot more history to this guy than that goes with it. You know what I mean?
So thank you. We thank you for taking time to call us this afternoon. And I just want to give some numbers out to call during this challenge match that we've got going on here this afternoon on the Metal Show. The numbers to call us are 719-589-8844. Or you can call us at the New Mexico number 575-758-1537. It's the Spring Fund Drive, the 2016 Spring Fund Drive here at KRZA. Our goal is to raise $40,000, and today is day 6. Give us a call. We have a challenge match right now. And we also like to thank Anonymous, that actually came to the station and pledged during this show.
Thank you, Don, for hanging out with us. Thank you for everything. And Don, I will stay in contact with you. And like I said, we're going to make this happen again, man, no matter what. So anything you want to say, Don, before we go?
I hope to see you again.
Always, as always, man. I love you, man. And peace to you, brother. And I will talk to you soon. And this one's going out to my buddy, Don Hudgin. This one's for you, brother. Later, Don.
Bye, Don.
Bye.